Hello, good evening. It's the eve of Easter 2018. And happy Easter to our numerous viewers and listeners across the globe. This is news at 10 on TV3 and 3FM 92.7. You can also catch us live on your DSTV channel 279 and watch our live stream on Facebook at 3news.com. Let's begin the bulletin with today's major news highlights. Government has announced changes at the Bureau of National Security. In a statement signed by the Information Minister Mustafa Ahmed, indicated the President has, with immediate effect, appointed Ambassador Rashid Saidu Nusa, Director General of the Research Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as the new Director of Bureau of National Investigations. The embattled Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Koku Anyidoho, has been granted bail. He spent 2 nights in the custody of the BNI after he was arrested by the police on Tuesday for alleged treasonable comments. Political historian Nana Sylvie Kondia has condemned the change of the name of the seat of government from Flagstaff House to Jubilee House. He describes it as unnecessary. Remember, you can hear us live on 3FM 92.7. We're streaming on our Facebook page and on 3news.com. Let's start with our very first story. President Akufo-Addo has assured Ghanaians of government's commitment to promote the rule of law and respect for individual liberties and human rights. In his Easter message, the president expressed government's resolve to ensure that social justice and principles of accountability are upheld.
We are ensuring the realization of fundamental requirements of social justice and solidarity. We're looking past commodities to position our country in the global marketplace. We're determined to free our people from a mindset of dependence, aid, charity, and handout.
He noted Ghanaians should celebrate Easter with a mindset that the country is on a path of prosperity.
Let us celebrate Easter as a real source of hope, that there is a brighter future ahead of us. Let us use this Easter celebration to renew and strengthen our faith in God, and to be confident that with God's guidance, we can transform our nation and use all the blessings that the Almighty has bestowed on us to bring progress and prosperity to all our people.
News just coming in. Government has slashed school fees for final year senior high school students by 50%. In the instance where the final year students who will be asked to stay in school during the current holidays or will reopen earlier than April 16, the fees, according to the statement, should be adjusted to reflect the number of weeks they will be spending in the school. It is directed that regional directors should ensure strict compliance of this new directive from the Ghana Education Service. And the embattled Deputy General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Kokou Anyidoho, has been granted bail. He spent 2 nights in the custody of the Bureau of National Investigations after he was arrested by police on Tuesday for alleged treasonable comments.
Kokou Anyidoho was arrested on Tuesday, having failed to secure his release on Tuesday and Wednesday. His legal team, together with some top NDC members, were at the offices of the Bureau of National Investigation to secure his release on Thursday. His father, Major General Henry Kwame Anyidoho, was also at the BNI office together with another lawyer to stand in as sureties for his release. National Vice Chairman of Osu Ampofo and some party bigwigs had gone to the police headquarters as part of efforts to secure the party's Deputy General Secretary's release.
When we realized that it was past 4, there was so much agitation at our party headquarters. And so we had to speak to the media and let the authorities know that if they don't release him by the close of day, we cannot guarantee what will happen, because the temperature in the party office was boiling up and we couldn't contain the anger of our people. So we are happy that at long last he's been released. He's confirmed, we've spoken with him. We believe that we are law-abiding citizens, and we believe that the laws of this country stipulate that no one can be kept beyond 48 hours. And our lawyers were there to ensure that the laws are complied with. And they gave us the assurance. As for going up and coming down, I mean, this is our party issue. This is a Ghana issue.
And the national organizer of the National Democratic Congress, Kofi Adams, says the party will continue to fight against what he described as the display of injustice by the Akufo-Addo's government. Speaking at the release of the Deputy General Secretary, Kokou Anyidoho, at the party's headquarters, he asked government to concentrate on fulfilling its promises than pursuing what he says is not in the interest of the country.
The release of the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC was welcoming news for the party. The national organizer of the NDC gave the indication the NDC will not end its fight against injustice.
We in NDC will not stop in speaking about the wrong that this government and President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and his Vice President Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia are visiting on this country and continue to visit on the country. Indeed, we are even more emboldened to continue to raise the wrongs, and we are going to continue doing it. We will fight and speak against this occupation of foreign forces in our land.
The first deputy national chairman of the party, Samuel Ofosu Ampofo, charged government to be focused in fulfilling its promises.
All what Nana Akufo-Addo can do is to change names and not build any legacy for himself. 1.5 years into his tenure, nothing is happening. Even the filth in Accra, they cannot collect it. It is not about changing names. It is about they fulfilling their promises of one district, one factory.
Some party sympathizers also expressed their views.
The people of Ghana has given him power to transform our lives. We are not saying transform our sleeping places for the words that we speak. He has been an apostle of freedom of speech.
Student loans have not been paid. You get it? Lecturers were sacking students, and everybody was angry. Has the government focused on that? Why did everything free SHS? And instead of them to do necessary things, they are rather subjecting the people into unnecessary hardships.
This is still news at 10. You're watching us live on TV3 and hearing us on 3FM 92.7. We have more news for you. Welcome to the big one. Our government has announced changes at the Bureau of National Investigations, BNI. A statement signed by the Information Minister, Mustafa Hamid, indicated that the President has, with immediate effect, appointed Ambassador Rashid Seidu Inusa, the Director General of the Research Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration, as the new Director of the Bureau of National Investigations, BNI. Peter Nyako Opata, his deputy at the Research Department, has now taken over as the Director General of the Department, Research Department, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. and William Kwesi Appiah, the previous director of the Bureau of National Investigation, has now been reassigned to the Ministry of National Security. Earlier reports suggested that Mr. Appiah was sacked after a meeting held on Thursday. But according to the National Security Minister, Albert Kandapah, the move was part of a number of changes at the BNI and the National Security Ministry. And security analyst Adam Bona earlier spoke on News 360 to my colleague Alfred Okanse. Mr. Bona is a security expert, and he spoke about the possible impact of the shake-up at the BNI.
What do you make of this move? A good move, you say?
Yeah, it's a very good move. I mean, I'm sure I've been on your network severally, and one of the things I have always talked about has to do with lack of intelligence. I mean, officers on the ground gathering intelligence. And if you know why the BNI was set up, it was set up to be able to sniff out information from the grassroots, go to the community, get information, complement what the police is doing to be able to fight crime. And this day and age of terrorism, if you realize the small arms, the small explosives that were found in, Odoko area, the Bureau of National Investigations to be doing. We expect them to have been to help complement Operation Vanguard, for instance. They are supposed to be there, going into the pit and helping identify the kingpins of what
what you're saying, that they are not executing the mandate in full?
Probably they haven't executed it. I don't want to say, probably about 10% of what they are supposed to be doing. That is how serious it is. If you realize, recently the police, had a lot of bashing here and there for not being able to fight crime. But the police alone cannot fight crime without, intelligence. And it is a reason you realize that the moment the IGP did his reshuffle and introduced the intelligence directorate headed by, Yohunu and his people, they have been able to arrest almost all the bad guys.
It's interesting you make this point, but there are people who also hold the opinion that the announcement and the timing of the announcement feeds into or creates a fertile ground for a lot of speculation, especially considering what has been happening over the last 48 hours. And then this afternoon, just when Koko Anyidoho is granted bail, we hear of this announcement. Could it have been done at any other time than this?
I don't want to feed into the conspiracy theory. I mean, I don't want to do that. But the truth is that when it comes to security, intelligence, and fighting crime, you could do changes in the night. You could do it during the day. You could do it at dawn. You could do it at any time. And so as far as I'm concerned, I believe that these changes would, we've got to pat the president and, the Minister of National Security. If you realize, when the National Security, that ministry was created, that has reduced the incidence of having the BNI and National Security going after political opponents. We haven't had that in this current dispensation. It used to be, that terrible. And so I want to say that I don't want to say that is what happened. It could be coincidental, but this is something that I wouldn't want to.
Let me just say that we've been speaking to Albert Kandapah off air, and he's explained to us that this reshuffle or these changes had nothing to do with what's happening with Koko Anyidoho over the last 48 hours. As a matter of fact, Kwesi Appiah, man in question who has been reassigned, was out of the country on official duties in the United States of America, and so he returned yesterday, and so it had nothing to do with the former President John Mahama visiting Koko at the BNI cells yesterday. But what are your expectations of this new BNI boss, considering the fact that you say they've been performing under 10% of your mandate?
Yes, my expectations are that they would help complement the police, they would help complement Operation Vanguard, they would help complement, Operation Calm Life. They would, go on the ground and do what they have to do. BNI of 30 years ago, even under, former President Mahama, you remember they went under this sting operation where former National Service Directors were, kind of arrested for indulging in one malpractice or the other.
Right.
But for a couple of years now, I have not really seen them do that much. And so my expectations are that they would go into the pits, the Galamsey pits, dressed like you, pretending to be digging, diamonds and gold, and being able to give us information to fight organized crime, because Galamsey is organized crime. The kind of armed robbery we are having is organized crime. Terrorism, organized crime. And so that is the mandate of the BNI and national security. Now we've been able to reduce the incident of national security and BNI going after political opponents. We want to see the other mandate being done.
Thank you so much, Zona.
And the special advisor to the president on the Sustainable Development Goals, Dr. Eugene Owusu, has said gender inequality is estimated to cost the nation 4% of gross domestic product annually. He noted that sustainable banking principles will lessen the gender gap, thereby helping to achieve some of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Addressing a stakeholders forum on sustainable banking principles in Accra, the advisor to the president on the SDGs, Dr. Eugene Owusu, was of the view that though the Sustainable Development Goals are ambitious, it represents the blueprint for future development.
The goals are about people, they're about our planet, they're about prosperity, and importantly, they're about peace and partnerships. We need to have the political will to implement the goals.
He assured participants that resources have been allocated towards achieving the SDGs.
The goals require unprecedented efforts by all segments of society to achieve them. And for me, I think the key challenge is really for us to demonstrate unparalleled leadership in the implementation of the goals.
Signing the agreement between the Bank of Ghana and the International Finance Corporation, the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Elsie Avaji, indicated a collaborative effort of BOG, Ghana Association of Bankers, and the Environmental Protection Agency has resulted in the preparation of the Sustainable Banking Principles and Sector Guidance Note with 7 general principles proposed.
Principles for identifying, measuring, and mitigating and monitoring environmental and social risks in banks' business activities, promoting gender equality, promoting financial inclusion, and finally, principles for reporting on compliance with these principles.
Chairman of the Bank of Ghana Sustainable Banking Committee, Musa Salah, noted the Sustainable Development Goals has necessitated commercial banks to change the way they conduct business.
Where we're looking at people, we're looking at profit, and at the same time, we're looking at planet. Beside that one, too, you need to understand, if we are asking banks to make sure that their risk portfolio quality is enhanced and with the measures on environment and social and governance, we're telling them that make sure that you will not lose any credit as a result of your client non-compliant with the environment and social regulations.
The sustainable banking principles require banks to assess economic, environmental, and social risk affecting the project and businesses they finance and ensure that appropriate measures are adopted to mitigate such risks.
And the Supreme Court has ordered the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice to file a response within 14 days, failure of which the court will commence hearing the case in which the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has been sued over the $2.25 billion bond issue. This was after the court granted an application for extension of time filed by Shraj, though they were not in court to move the application.
The Apex Court, presided over by a sole judge, Justice Yawa Powell, wondered if the commission was serious to contest the case. He expressed shock that after filing for an extension of time, the commission failed to make an appearance. He therefore exercised his discretion and granted the application, though Shraj was not in court to move the motion since the other parties did not oppose the application. A group calling itself Dynamic Youth Organization of Ghana, DIMOG, in January sued the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, the Attorney General, and the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice, Shraj, over the $2.25 billion bond issuance. The group in its suit is invoking the proper jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to interpret Article 284 of the 1992 Constitution. Shraj cleared the Finance Minister of conflict of interest allegations following a petition forwarded by an NDC member, Broja Jemfi, SHRAJ, in its report, had stated that on the basis of the evidence available to the Commission, it had come to the conclusion and therefore holds that the allegations by the complainant that the respondent has contravened Article 284 of the 1992 Constitution by putting himself in a conflict of interest situation in relation to the issuance of the 5-year, 7-year, 10-year and 15-year bonds have not been substantiated. But the leader of the group, Edward Tutor, insisted the decision to clear the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, of any wrongdoing contravenes Article 284 of the Constitution.
We are taking up this issue in the best interest of the nation, being mindful of the fact that corruption has been one of the factors that has militated against our progress. And conflict of interest per our laws has not clearly been defined. So we feel that taking up this case will bring clarity from the Supreme Court to set the parameters for indicating what qualifies to be a conflict of interest scenario or not.
The case has been adjourned sine die.
And Vision for Alternate Development, an NGO, is calling on the Food and Drugs Authority and other stakeholders to strictly enforce the country's tobacco laws to discourage the underage from smoking. Program Director of VALD, Libra Mensah, says cigarettes is easy for teenagers to be addicted to cigarettes. Here's a report by Noon Falong.
Article 9 of the Public Health Act 2012, among other things, prohibits smoking in public places. It also bans adverts relating to tobacco and tobacco products, tobacco sponsorship, packaging and labeling to create the impression that tobacco is less harmful. Every year, 3,400 people die from tobacco-related diseases in Ghana alone. Vision for Alternative Development, VALD, is of the view the laxity in enforcement of laws is causing more young people to take up the habit.
School children are also exposed to candy cigarettes in the form of cigarettes aimed at encouraging new smokers. There are also open advertisements of cigarette products by shop owners and hawkers near schools, despite tobacco control and tobacco marketing restrictions in the country and many other African countries.
VALD identified factors such as the sighting of cigarette retailers close to schools and the sale of cigarettes in single sticks as the main causes of smoking among children. The sale of single sticks is regarded as a strategy used by tobacco companies to market their products in Africa. A survey by African Tobacco Control Alliance, ATCA, confirms that this practice makes cigarettes cheaper and consequently encourages the initiation of smoking among young people. Major tobacco multinationals are engaged in this practice. The group is asking the Food and Drugs Authority, the World Health Organization, Ministry of Health and all stakeholders to work together to fight the alarming situation.
That's how we wrap up with News at 10. Thank you very much for staying with us. On behalf of the crew, good night and happy Easter to all of you out there. Enjoy your long break and holiday. Good evening.